please. Hello, namaskar and adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. Many of our results in our lives are based on the strength of planets, the dignity of planets, what yogas they are in, what dosha they are in, and what are the houses that they rule, which houses they are placed in, and also what are the aspects on them. But one of the very important areas of planetary placements and their strengths is the retrogression of planets, and this is one of the most misunderstood areas because very less attributes of retrograde planets is found in the shlokas, and that too in detail. And so many times it's with a lot of effort culling out from various books that we are able to collate and bring together the results that a retrograde planet may give. So there may be certain things you pick up from a Jataka Chandrika, you may pick up something from the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, something from the Faladipika, and then putting all the the attributes of retrograde planets together and using your own experiences and learning from your gurus, you eventually come up with an analysis which seems closest to or truest to the manifestation of a retrograde planet. Now, what does a retrograde planet mean? We have seen multiple videos of this on the YouTube and various blogs, various websites also, and I have also made a few videos on retrograde planets and what do they mean. Today I am going to give you some more details about how retrograde planets may behave in different houses. Now, when you say retrograde planets, one thing important is that we know that Sun and Moon, the two luminaries, never go retrograde. They are always direct. And two shadow planets, the nodes Rahu and Ketu, they are always retrograde, and so they never go direct. So taking these into account, Sun, Moon, Rahu and Ketu, the north node and the south node, for retrogression doesn't make sense. So when I'm talking about the retrograde planets, here I'm talking about the other 5 planets, namely which are the Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn. Each one of them can go retrograde at different points of the year, and some planets go more retrograde than the others. The larger planets Jupiter and Saturn go retrograde less often. However, Mercury we know goes retrograde quite a lot, and then Mars and Venus also follow. So based on which planet is retrograde, obviously the results attributing to the description of the planet and the behaviors of the planet and the attributes of the planet come into question automatically. Mercury retrogression has a direct effect on your analytical ability, in your ability to make choices, intelligent choices. The retrogression of Jupiter means how well you are able to use your wisdom, how well you are able to fathom a certain situation and then do take a balanced viewpoint on it. It's obviously affected by Jupiter's retrogression. Venus's retrogression obviously will bring in issues related to intimacy, related to relationships, related to the material possession that you have, and so each one of them will bring in their own results, own mixes, if I can use the word. So in general, retrograde planets will give you challenges and issues from time to time, but they will also give you sudden opportunities and sudden forward movement also, and unexpected forward movement also in life. So it's important that we know or understand retrograde planets better, not just because retrograde planets are very strong, they are considered to be thrice the strength of a direct planet, but also because key areas of life can be affected by the retrogression of planets, and the planet because we are talking about the 5 planets namely Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, and each one of them rule 2 signs each, which means that obviously because of ruling 2 houses and being retrograde maybe in the 3rd house, so 3 houses are in question here when a retrograde planet goes into a sign which is not its own, and hence it's important to understand and analyze what kind of results a retrograde planet can give in various houses related to what house it rules. So today I am going to talk about in general at a generic level what a retrograde planet may give results in what houses. I'm not too much getting into details of what houses they rule and then get into what houses. That series I will make later when I pick up specific planets, rulership of the planets, and then being retrograde in some other house. Here I'm talking about generic results of a planet which is retrograde, whether it's in its own sign or other sign or Mool Trikon sign, is a topic for some other video. So in general, please understand retrograde planets seem to be moving in the opposite direction or moving in the anti-clockwise direction from the direction. So normally if you look at the houses, how planets seem to be moving. So if you take the Vedic astrological Kundi, the horoscope, then you will have houses which seem to be anti-clockwise. Here I am talking from my perspective and not yours. So if I talk from your perspective, then the Rahu and Ketu will be moving in this direction, whereas the planets will be moving from the first house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, sixth house. So planets which are moving in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth seem to be the planets which are in direct motion. So if a planet moves from the second house back into the first house during its transit, then it is said to be in retrograde motion. So planets seem to be moving in the backward direction, but they are not the ones which are moving in the backward direction. It is just that the relative speed, compared to how we see from the earth, they seem to be slowing down and moving in the opposite direction, and so that's why it seems that they are retrograde. However, because retrograde planets are very close to the earth, so they have a stronger bearing on the individual, and that's why retrogression is such an important attribute, and a retrograde planet gives such different results from when it is direct. And so if you have a retrograde planet in your horoscope, obviously it will throw up a mixed variety of results rather than a direct planet. So just to summarize what retrograde planets bring effects to one's life, and then getting into house-wise dissemination. So retrograde planets seem to be moving in a backward direction from its generic direct speed. Second, retrograde planets will seem to be also giving results of the last house, which means that a retrograde planet, if it's in the second house, will also give you some results of the first house. So that's in that connotation, it's a very karmic placement, which means there were certain things about that planet which remain to be done in the last life, and so the planet seems to be retrograde in this life, which means that there are certain things of the last house which are part of the karma which you need to still fulfill, and which is a part of your prarabdha karma for this life. That is the second attribute of a retrograde planet. Third is, because of being very, very strong yet retrograde, it gives you results which are least expected. So specifically during its dasha and antardasha, if it's a benefic planet and you expect benefic results, especially if it's in a good yoga, then you will see that it gives you results which are unexpected or different. Or in a short description of a retrograde planets are rogue planets, which means they will never fulfill what you feel the result that the planet should give you. They will rarely fulfill that predomination. So it's important for us to delve deeper to understand how retrograde planets may behave, because nobody is for certain, and then being ready accordingly. The other thing is, retrograde planets will also give you different results basis what they are karaka of the relationship. So for example, if Jupiter goes retrograde or is retrograde in the horoscope of a woman, then obviously she will find challenges in her relationships with men. For a man, if Jupiter is retrograde, then in his education and how he is able to deal with his gurus and his teachers and in his own education, he will find a challenge. If Venus is retrograde in relationships, in being able to either showcase loyalty or expect loyalty from the opposite partner, having material sources and not having losses, those will also give you least expected results or differently expected results from what they give. So these are some generic things which a retrograde planet will give. So let's see, starting from the first house and until the 12th house, without getting into which retrograde planet it is, which we'll do in the next series. Let's look at how retrograde planets may behave housewise. So in the first house, if you have any retrograde planet, it will give you different results basis what the first house represents, and it will give you some results of the 12th house also. What is the first house? The first house is for your health, it is for your thinking ability, it is for your reputation, it is for your pride, how you see yourself, your good looks, and in general disseminations of your life. So a retrograde planet in any of the houses, any of the in the first house will give you challenge in any one of the areas of the first house. So either it will give you surprising results or least expected results about your health, or about your reputation, or your standing in society, or how you look, or your thinking ability. So once in your lives, one area will definitely be affected almost throughout your life. If you have a challenge in health, you will find that generally throughout your life you will have some or the other niggling issues if there is a retrograde planet in the first house. If it's about your self-respect, then you will have to fight for your self-respect throughout your life, and you may get into arguments and issues. Or if you are not able to rise in life, your standing in society is affected, then you will find that it is a very uphill struggle to really move up in the social ladder and to have a certain standing in society where people look up to you as a person who was successful and was gradually move up phases in life and eventually reach where you should be able to reach. Or if it's affecting your thinking ability, then you will find that a lot of your choices seem to go wrong, and hence it becomes difficult for you to sometimes understand whether you're making the right decision or not. So these are certain things that the retrograde planet in the first house may give. So here in the first house, one area that you will be misunderstood could be because of how you come across, putting across your self-respect. So somebody may think that while you are thinking that you are just protecting your self-respect or you're standing by your self-respect, for somebody else they may think that you're being too arrogant and you're being too haughty or you're being too stubborn. So while you're trying to protect your self-respect or you are thinking that you're standing by your pride, somebody else may misunderstand that you are being arrogant. And this could be one challenge almost throughout your life. And hence one attribute which probably you may need to give up is you need to be more humble and not make small issues as a challenge for your self-respect. This could also be one area that could be your overarching loss of the last house for you, because the retrograde planet also gives you some results of the last house. So the losses also come to you if you are not able to handle the energies of the retrograde planet well, which means that the houses of the 12th lord or the 12th house, which is high expenses, losses or in investments, or not getting good results from foreign lands or from foreign clients, could also be seen here. This could also be health challenges which come in from time to time, because the 12th house also represents hospitals and clinics. You could also face losses or law-based or legal issues which are also related to the 12th house. Or you may not be able to get great results when you work in solitude or when you work alone, and you have to work higher or better in teamwork, compromising on or doing the tightrope walk between what you consider to be self-respect and what your team needs. And so being humble and working well with others is important when you are looking at a retrograde planet in the first house. In the second house, it's important that you understand that because the second house is related to your livelihood, it is related to your income, it is related to your savings and also your principles and values, there will be one attribute of the second house in which you may be misunderstood. This could be either from your immediate family that you're born in. So it could be that your parents or your siblings or your tribe or your community could misunderstand you for how you carry yourself or how they see you as somebody who leads their life with certain principles and values. So your tribe or your family may think that you are not sticking to your principles and the values that the family represents, that the community represents, while you may think that you are you're sticking to the principles and values that the family represents. And hence one attribute which you may need to give up here is trying to convince your family or trying to be the good person or the good guy in front of your family, as long as you're convinced you're living your life with principles and values. So there will be one attribute of the second house which may run into challenges. Other thing which a retrograde planet in the second house may give you is a challenge in your earning. So you will find that there are periods where suddenly, without any warning, your income slumps, or you need to break up your savings for whatever. It could be a challenge of health, it could be a sudden in the notice which you get from the government, or something which needs you to break up your savings, and it eats up into your savings. On the other hand, because a retrograde planet also gives you sudden success and sudden rise, it could also mean that you suddenly get a good opportunity because of which your livelihood suddenly goes up. So you find a new opportunity, you find a new earning opportunity, or you find a new job, or you find another parallel investment opportunity which also gives you an added income. But one thing which is important is strong results come only after a long wait with a retrograde planet. So hoping that the retrograde planet will give you great income, will give you a great livelihood, and will allow you to have great savings will be a misunderstanding of the retrograde planet's behavior. So the best thing about a retrograde planet in the second house is you continue to work as you work, working with your principles and your values, and focusing strongly on your livelihood and your earning potential, and wait also and expect the unexpected here. Expect that you may also have a sudden rise and you may also have a sudden downfall with respect to your income, your savings, your livelihood also. This could also be related to food, which the loss is aimed at in the second house. So because one area which you will have to give up, so you will have to probably give up eating to your fulfillment, because the 12th house to the second house is the first house, so your health could get affected if you are too much of a foodie or if you indulge too much in food. So one needs to be careful where the matters of the food is related. This could also be related to language. So you need to be careful what you say, who to say to, because this could backfire suddenly. You think what you're saying makes sense and it is right and it is logical, but it is understood by the other person, and because of which your reputation is lost, your standing in society is lost. So the losses of the first house come in because of a retrograde planet in the second house. And the retrograde planet also sometimes behaves like a debilitated planet if it's in an inimical sign. So here the struggle could be larger struggle if the retrograde planet in the second house is in an inimical sign, and it could give you results which are least expected, and there are many challenges and issues before ultimately you get good results. A exalted retrograde planet is a very, very high ask of good behavior related to the planet which is retrograde. And so if you have an exalted planet which has gone retrograde in the second house, then you need to be on your absolute good behavior to ensure that you continue to get good results of the second house and your earning does not suffer. If there are two retrogrades in the second house, then one needs to be very, very careful. So in effect, understand that the retrograde planet in the second house could be a pain point as well as an opportunity for both earnings, better livelihood, better savings, and good income coming in, but it could also be a case of one step forward and two steps backward. So in effect, a retrograde planet in the second house is a rogue planet which could give you huge ups and downs related to your livelihood, related to your savings, and related to how you look at your food habits and how you use your language. And that is the result of a retrograde planet in the second house. A retrograde planet in the third house here will affect your communication ability, how you are understood by others, especially how you come across and how you market yourself and how people see you, and how you come across in your self-enterprise and your efforts. Because the third house is also the house of efforts, which means that many times your efforts could be misunderstood. People could misunderstand that you're doing efforts for yourself rather than for the company or for the family, for example. So you will have to be a little careful how you come across to others, because here your own branding is under question. And this could be a challenge which you face sometime throughout your life, that you're misunderstood in terms of your intentions, because the third house is related to your intentions and your efforts, and what intentions your efforts are directed towards. And so one needs to be careful how you brand yourself and how you market yourself in terms of your language, in terms of your action, and in terms of your behavior. This is also a placement which could give you sudden rise and sudden success. So generally in your self-enterprise, if you're trying to do something of your own, if you're investing in a business, then this could give you sudden rise. And many people who have had huge stupendous rise in business or in a practice of their own or in consulting have been the people who have got a retrograde planet in the third house or a strong planet, exalted planet in the third house. However, keep in mind that the retrograde planet gives you results usually suddenly and after a long wait. So one need not shy from continuing to put in effort, because the retrograde planet in the third house will give you results and sustained results after a long wait. However, because it is also a case of one step forward and two steps backwards, so many a times your effort may seem to be going in the right direction, and suddenly some jolt comes up and some roadblock comes up, some obstacle comes up, because of which you may need to take a step back also, and you need to even start afresh. The relationship based challenge that a retrograde planet in the third house could give you is based your sibling. And so one needs to be a little careful how you deal with sibling, how you communicate with them, and how you come across with them, because this could be a challenging placement for you. If the planet is an inimical sign here, then your relationship with the sibling could be spoiled, relation with the neighbors could be spoiled, your efforts could also go to waste. If you have a strong benefic planet in the third house, then this is the placement of very good success, huge success, but after years of patience, years of effort, years of self-enterprise, and putting a long and hard hours and long hours of effort in how you communicate, how you market yourself, and how you brand yourself. So this requires very high level of right poise, right communication, right way you carry yourself, and right way you market yourself and how you brand yourself, and then over a period of time getting great results of the third house with the retrograde planet in the third house. Just remember, because the retrograde planet also gives you some results of the last house. So here the efforts, higher efforts in your third house could also get connected to your second house of earnings. So if the retrograde planet is giving you a challenge in your efforts, then it could give you challenges in your income also and livelihood. On the other hand, if there is a sudden rise in your life basis your effort, then you could also see a high rise in your income and your livelihood. And that is the result of a retrograde planet in the third house for you. A retrograde planet in the fourth house is both an opportunity as well as a challenge. One thing is that here the challenge could be that you will have to work on being understood right with your entire family, specifically the family that you make yourself, which is your spouse and your children, or if your parents or siblings live with you, with them also. And this could be something which you will have to work on and put an effort on almost throughout your life. One attribute which you may need to give up here could be either a challenge in vehicles, or in a challenge with property investments, or in challenge with respect to buying jewelry, or with respect to domestic conveniences. So there will be one thing which could give you a challenge. I remember a client who had a retrograde planet in the fourth house, and his electronic appliances always kept giving him some challenge or the other, and there would hardly be a time where in some months some or the other domestic appliance was not going kaput, or he was not repairing it, or he was not buying a new one. Something could go wrong in wiring, and suddenly 2-3 appliances would burn up, and he would have to reinvest or replace them or repair them. So this is something which he faced. Another client found that because of a retrograde planet in the 4th house, his property issues kept coming up every now and then. Though he made good property and he got suddenly 2-3 good properties where he least expected them. So this is also the result that you get in the 4th house. You get sudden results, you get unexpected results, you may get suddenly a lot of properties, you may get a lot of conveniences, you may get 2 or 3 vehicles. Somebody who doesn't have a car, has no convenience, suddenly he finds a good opportunity, a good job, or his business does well, and suddenly within a span of 2-3 years he buys 2-3 cars. But then there could also be a challenge where suddenly the business collapses and he has to sell out the cars also, and he is back to square one. So this is a challenge which the retrograde planet can give you in the 4th house. A retrograde planet in the 4th house could also give you challenges with the mother, or in relationship with the mother, or the health of the mother, or your nearness or closeness to the mother, or how well you are able to gel with mother, what kind of a rapport you have with mother. So here some least expected results could also come in. Because a retrograde planet sometimes behaves like a debilitated planet in an inimical sign, so a retrograde planet in an inimical sign in the 4th house could give you huge challenges in your relationship, in your domestic environment, and so you will find that you will have to really struggle to have the peaceful environment at home, and you having the happiness that you're looking for and the companionship that you're looking for. And so the home environment needs to be handled very, very carefully if you have a retrograde planet in an inimical sign in the 4th house. If it's an exalted retrograde planet, then it asks for you to have very, very good behavior, otherwise you could face multiple challenges related to the 4th house. If it's a malefic planet which is retrograde in the 4th house, then the 1st, 3rd, 5th and 7th years of a dasha period will be very decisive ones and very important ones also. So in effect, a retrograde planet in the 4th house is both an opportunity for you to have sudden rise, make suddenly huge material, collect material resources, build houses, have more cars, have all sorts of domestic conveniences, have a great household, have a great home, have a beautiful home, have a large home. All those results may also come in, but also sudden challenges may also come in. So with a retrograde planet in the 4th house, be real careful how you deal with family, where you invest, how you invest, and how you operate your domestic conveniences, appliances and your cars. Regular upkeep of them, regular service of them is important, otherwise they will bring you losses. And that is the result of a retrograde planet in the 4th house for you. A retrograde planet in the 5th house is a challenging area. One, because the 5th house is also the 8th house to the 10th house. So retrograde planet here could make you take high risk in your career and your job, and because of which sometimes you don't feel settled in your career, settled in your job. And hence many a times people with a retrograde planet in the 5th house will find that they take too long to settle in a proper career. So initial life they may change their jobs quickly, sometime within a year or two, and they may go through multiple jobs before they settle down into a job which seems to be more suitable for them from a both income point of view, roles point of view, and the brand of the company that they're looking for. Because the 5th house is also related to children, so and education, so a retrograde planet in the 5th house could mean that your initial education could run into challenges, into issues. The kind of support that you need in education, or even sometimes ability to pay your fees, could be a challenge. Getting admission into good schools could be a challenge for your parents if you have a retrograde planet in the 5th house. Investing in speculation such as properties or in stocks or shares or in the share market could throw up a challenge if you have a retrograde planet in the 5th house. However, this is also a placement where you could have a sudden rise and you could gain a lot of money in shares and stocks in the share market. However, there could be a sudden collapse also where almost all your earnings also wiped out. So with the retrograde planet in the 5th house, it's a good thing if you're investing in the share market because you could get good gains. However, learn to spread your risks also and invest into different stocks and have a mix of short-term and long-term stocks so that you can spread the risk and you can balance the effect of the retrograde planet. Because the retrograde planet also forces you to be misunderstood in one area of your life, here a retrograde planet could either give you challenges in the childbirth itself, or how your relationship with the children is. There could be either one child with whom you don't have a great relationship in terms of communication or understanding is concerned, and you will find that over a period of time one child seems to be drifting off or not getting the results that you expect. If you have 3 children, you may find that 2 children are doing okay to good, but one child is the problem child for you, or a challenge for you in your life, and the child may also need more help, more support, or more attention from you. This is also a planet where you could do very well in terms of how you are a performer. If you like something, or if you are in love with somebody, you will find that the first relation almost seems to go wrong, and it could be because of misunderstandings. Generally, you meet somebody, you like somebody, you start dating, but you find that before the relationship can go further, the relationship suddenly collapses also, and most of the time this is either because of personality issues or because of misunderstanding or miscommunication. So be very careful of the results of the 5th house, because this controls 2 or 3 very important attributes. It controls your career, it controls the results of your children, it controls results of your romance, it controls how your investments are. And because the retrograde planet also gives you the results of the last house, so here not making the right investments in property, for example, can make you give losses of the 4th house in terms of property. Not being able to handle your children well in matters of the 5th house could give you a challenge in the domestic environment related to the 4th house. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 5th house, then you need to be very careful of both the domestic environment as well as how you are looking at your career, how you handle your children, how you handle your romantic life. And that is the result of a retrograde planet in the 5th house for you. A retrograde planet in the 6th house is a mixed bag. There are some very good things about the 6th house retrograde planet, and there are some challenging areas also. For example, the 6th house is the house of competition, and also your hidden enemies and your colleagues as well. So retrograde planet in the 6th house puts them off and does not allow their scheming behind your back to be successful. So your enemies will have to work much harder to be able to affect you in any negative manner. So the 6th house retrograde planet will definitely throw competition off. However, this also is not easy for you to overcome competition. So if you are in a competitive situation, you are sitting in competitive exams, then to clear the competitive exams could take you a lot more effort than if a direct planet was placed in the 6th house. So here a retrograde planet will force you to take 2 or 3 or maybe 4 attempts before you clear an exam. It forces you to put in harder effort before you get career success. It forces you to invest more time and energy before you get the gratitude and the appreciation of your colleagues and at work. Because this also gives you a misunderstanding, many times the misunderstanding comes from your colleagues. So many times because you are not able to communicate with your colleagues well, and so there are challenges with your colleagues, and hence the colleague starts to scheme behind your back or work behind your back also. So one thing leads to the other, and hence one needs to be very watchful of your attitude and behavior and how you showcase yourself at work. And if it's a retrograde planet in an inimical sign in the 6th house, then this could also invite litigation or court cases, because the 6th house is also the house of issues and challenges related to legal affairs. So be careful if you have a retrograde planet in the 6th house, because these court cases or legal challenges can also be because of getting into high debt or taking loans and not being able to pay off. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 6th house, be careful not to take too many loans which you are not able to handle, or to get into debts, more debts than you can handle, because paying off the debts can definitely be a challenge with a retrograde planet in the 6th house. Career could also take time. However, you will find that you get a sudden rise with the retrograde planet in the 6th house. Your career suddenly shoots up, and for years you seem as if you are stagnant, there is no moving up, there is no appreciation, and suddenly you get a break, suddenly you are given a different role and you move up. and the next role could be much better, the salary could be much better, the brand of the organization, if you're changing a job, could also be much better. So this is a leap rather than just a step up with the retrograde planet in 6th house, after waiting for many years, after putting in long hours of hard work, and before the results may eventually come for you. And so be careful of a retrograde planet in the 6th house, more related to your career, more related to how you deal with colleagues and how you are, what kind of relationship you are having with them, because otherwise this could be a challenge throughout your life, that whichever company you are joining, you are always having an issue with your colleagues, you are always having misunderstanding, and you are always having, you are inviting notices, if not from the legal fraternity, then there could be notices at work, or strong emails that you get from your colleagues and putting you down, or running into some issues, or getting reprimanded from your supervisors or managers from time to time, specifically related to how you handle your colleagues, how you handle your team. So these are the results with a retrograde planet in the 6th house for you. A retrograde planet in the 7th house is definitely a challenge where relationships are concerned, where partnerships are concerned, where teamwork is concerned, and with dealing with others on a day-to-day basis, because this is also the house of daily wages. So those people who earn on a day-to-day basis, for example, a shopkeeper who's selling his items and people walk into his shop and he makes daily sales, or a salesperson who makes daily sales on behalf of a company, or a person who has to take daily so many number of calls, or a person who needs to work with his team on a day-to-day basis and submit his project work. So wherever a day-to-day related functioning is concerned and day-to-day results are concerned, a retrograde planet in the 7th house could be a big challenge, because you will have to work that much more harder to showcase results. Partnerships take time to settle down, your relationships take time to settle down with a retrograde planet in the 7th house, and usually the first partnership or the first committed relationship that you get into will definitely always be a challenge. This takes at least years before the partnership or the companionship settles down and you start to get better results. However, because this is one step forward and two steps backwards, you will suddenly find out of the blue, out of nowhere, some challenge suddenly comes up in your relationship, in your partnership, or how you work with your team at work, and there could be suddenly unanticipated challenge which you suddenly have to resolve, because now you don't know where the issue is coming from, or you thought you had solved that issue, the challenge, you have clarified or negotiated it, and it comes back to haunt you, and you have to put extra effort than before to be able to resolve this. Sometimes there could be a misunderstanding all your life. For example, with a partner, with your committed partner, with your spouse, there could be something that you did wrong at the start of the relationship, and that keeps coming back to haunt you every now and then. The same thing keeps coming up in your discussion, the same thing comes up to be renegotiated or re-talked about or rediscussed. It's like you did this 10 years back and that story keeps following you all your life. One thing which you may need to give up here is how much you expect from that partnership, how much you expect from the relationship. Because if you expect too much and you have a retrograde planet here, then this would give you more frustration and anxieties. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 7th house, expect less, give more, so then you will be happier. Because it also leads to the loss of the last house, so sometimes a retrograde planet in the 7th house also means that the last house results of litigation, challenges and issues coming to you. So if you're not able to handle your committed relationship well, or there are too many misunderstandings which creep in, or you both are not able to get along, then the loss of the 7th house, which is represented by the 6th house, that gets activated, and this could at least be a separation, if not a legal divorce from your spouse. This could also be a breakup of a business partnership. This could also be that the partnership sometimes gets liquidated, or you have to start beginning to work with a new team in a new job with this placement, especially during the dasha and antardasha of the retrograde planet, or a transit over the 7th house of a major planet like a Jupiter or Saturn, or during the aspect of a malefic on the 7th house. If the retrograde planet in the 7th house is in a malefic sign, then this is almost a sure shot sign of having huge challenges in your married life, in your partnership, almost throughout your life. And this becomes a pain area. However, because it is also an opportunity area, you will also find that suddenly you may get into a partnership which really serves you very, very well. This is a strong placement of somebody who works hard for years together, and maybe after years, after 4, 5 years, sometimes decades, you suddenly find a huge rise in your business and you can end up even like a business tycoon with a strong retrograde planet in the 7th house. One needs to be, however, be careful, because the retrograde planet also behaves like a rogue planet. So there could also be sudden issues which come up after the stupendous success, which could again become the reason for your downfall. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 7th house, be very, very careful how you deal with people on a day-to-day basis. Clarify twice or thrice if there is a misunderstanding, or to avoid misunderstanding, lessen your expectation, lower your expectation, and be more giving, and you will find that you are a happier person with a retrograde planet in the 7th house. A retrograde planet in the 8th house is definitely a big challenge. This could be one of the biggest challenges in the entire horoscope when you have a retrograde planet in the 8th house. Because the 8th house is also called the Ayusthan, or the house of life, and a retrograde planet in the 8th house may throw up challenges for you from time to time in respect of health. And there could be some challenge, some issue which is suddenly rises up, even becomes a chronic ailment and doesn't leave you for many, many years. And you will find that you are in some or the other medication all the time if you have a retrograde planet in the 8th house. Sudden obstacles, sudden issues, sudden upheavals may also come in for you if you have a retrograde planet in the 8th house, because the retrograde planet will create opportunities or create choices for you, which if you don't handle well, then you will surely run into some obstacles, some issues, some big problem which needs immediate attention. And this is a placement where you will have to let go of everything else, and this is the firefighting placement if you have a retrograde planet in the 8th house. It will snowball in such a big issue that you have to let go of everything and focus all your energies on that particular issue that has risen, to be able to solve it before you can move forward. This is also a big opportunity where this is also placement of sudden inheritance or getting sudden money out of nowhere. This could also be a strong placement, in fact a stronger placement than the 5th house, even to earn from lotteries or to get strong inheritance. There have been cases where people least expected inheritance, but they got huge inheritance with the retrograde planet in the 8th house, sometimes even from those people who they thought they didn't know very well or they didn't get along very well. I know a person whose father, when he died, he got a huge legacy and inheritance, though he thought his father had not made any investments, he had no savings. However, his father had made huge investments in the stock market, which the person was not aware of, and when his father died and he got huge amount of money, that's when he got to know that his father had made such a big investment which he had not divulged to anyone. So the 8th house retrograde planet is both an opportunity and as well as an obstacle. If you are careful and if you handle your issues well, you have your clear documentation, you drive carefully, you work closely with your team members, you don't allow issues to come in, then this is a good placement of making money from other people's investments, other people's affairs also. So retrograde planet in the 8th house could give you a sudden gain from a shared property that you buy. So you buy a property with your spouse, and after a few years you need to sell it, but you find that the return that you're getting on the property is 3 times, 4 times, maybe 5 times, which you didn't expect earlier. So the retrograde planet in the 8th house will give you sudden huge amounts of money. This is also good breakthrough to getting government jobs, breakthrough in research, breakthrough in getting a lot of money from financial investments. You make an investment and you forget about it, and you suddenly realize that the money has really gone through the rooftop. It has become 2-3 times that investments that you had made. This is also placement where out of nowhere you get an opportunity to invest. but the opportunity doesn't remain for long. If you make use of the opportunity, then it could be a good thing for you. However, this is also tricky placement, because if the opportunity is not good, it could mislead you into making an investment, and you could lose money. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 8th house, then be a little careful who you trust, where you make your investments, having right clear documentations, and not getting into any shared holdings unless you're absolutely sure. And take care of your health, drive carefully, and don't give any chance to the 8th house energies to put you on the back foot, because this can create challenges of the last house. So a retrograde planet in the 8th house could also bring you issues in your sexual life. Sometimes people with retrograde planet in the 8th house can either have a reputation of somebody who has not been faithful or committed. Even a small thing sometimes can snowball, or they may get into an unnecessary controversy which could then affect their committed relationship of the 7th house. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 8th house, be very, very careful how you carry yourself, especially related to the opposite gender, because that could be a tricky affair for you. And that is the result of a retrograde planet in the 8th house. A retrograde planet in the 9th house is a balanced position for you. One reason it is a balanced position is because the 9th house is a house of duty and being committed to your duty and to your work. So with a retrograde planet, you may find that you will have to work harder on your duty, and in essence, this also is a plus point for your prarabdha karma, because the 9th house is the house of your prarabdha karma. Being more duty bound or working hard on your duty, in fact, helps you to work or clear your karmic debt which you are carrying. So a retrograde planet in the 9th house is not a bad placement. It's a balanced position both for the material resources as well as for your prarabdha karma. However, this can give you a misunderstanding with your teachers, it could also give you a misunderstanding or issues with the father. A retrograde planet in the 9th house could mean that you will have to work harder to get educational certification, educational qualification, getting admission into good universities or the schools of your choices, getting admission into those qualifications or those certifications which you feel are helpful to you. There could be a challenge there. You could either not get admission or the qualification that you desire, or in the institute that you desire, or you may even have a break in your education before you clear your exams. You could get a break in your education, start working, and then go back to learn again and then get another certification, another education qualification, also with the retrograde planet in the 9th house. Because the 9th house is also the house of fate and luck, you find that the doors of fate and luck open slow for you, and sometimes it takes years before you think that you are lucky enough or you have hit the jackpot. Dealing with people from different cultures sometimes runs into challenges. You find that you have misunderstanding with people from different cultures. You have challenges when you're making long distance travel plans. Last minute holding up, last minute cancellations may also spoil your plans. So be careful with the retrograde planet in the 9th house, because the retrograde planet will give you opportunities to do better, to get good qualifications. It will not stop that, but it will definitely slow you down, and you will find that you will have to work harder on getting gains of being lucky. So usually you will find that you don't come across as very lucky, and you will find that people around you seem to be more lucky, whereas you have to work really hard to move up. So being lucky in promotions, being lucky in getting more appreciation, being lucky in getting a job in a better brand and a bigger brand company will seem to be a challenge if you have a retrograde planet in the 9th house. Because the 9th house is also the planet, it's also the house of being religious or spiritual. You will also find that you are not very spiritual or you are not very religious with the retrograde planet in the 9th house. You may have some faith, some belief, but you will also question your belief from time to time. You may even question the existence of a supreme energy from time to time. You may even question your good luck or your ability to attract good luck. You may in fact even feel that why are you facing the bad luck or challenges all the time? Are you even jinxed? So this creates doubts in your minds from a religion point of view, with the point of view whether you're lucky enough and whether you will ever get good results in your life. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 9th house, work hard on your educational qualification, because that could be the road to success. Work hard on how you deal with your gurus, with your father, and work hard on how you deal with people from different cultures and to avoid misunderstandings, because then in the long run you will find that this could be a very good placement for you to, when the doors of fate and luck open for you, this will be much bigger. The boon, the moolah will be much bigger than any other houses that the retrograde planet can give you. So a balanced position for a retrograde planet for in the 9th house, if you are careful, you can make the most of it, and that is the result of a retrograde planet in the 9th house. A retrograde planet in the 10th house will make you really work very hard for long hours, and sometimes it makes it difficult for you to get out of office, which means you seem to be working long hours. You plan to leave, say for example at 6 p.m, but invariably you will find that you will not leave before 6:30 or even 7 p.m. So having to learn to work harder, longer hours seems to be one of the results of a retrograde planet. You may find that others seem to be leaving their work faster or sooner than you. Others seem to be finishing their project work before you. Others seem to be on time for meetings. Others seem to be in control of the relation with supervisors with a retrograde planet in the 10th house. Retrograde planet in the 10th house could also throw up challenges with your managers and supervisors. So you will have to really work hard on your relation with your managers and supervisors, and it will take years before you settle into a good rapport with them. The first few years in any job with any supervisor will throw up huge challenges, and in spite of the best work that you put forth, the appreciation and the recognition may not come forward. You may also face some issue with some challenge with your supervisors, because of which you will also need to maybe escalate the issue, or your issues are escalated to your superiors to handle. You may find that you may also face 2-3 jobs before you settle into a proper career. You may also change the industry that you work in. So if you are working for a food processing industry, suddenly you may find that you are in an airline industry, or then you move into service industry, or you move into manufacturing. So you may change your industries 2-3 times in your life before you eventually settle into a proper career with a retrograde planet in the 10th house, because there could be some misunderstanding that the retrograde planet gives you. So the misunderstanding that it may give you in the 10th house could be basis how much of an asset you are to the organization, how much you asset to the team. So in spite of your hard work, you will have to work harder to come across as somebody who is a true asset. So getting the recognition that you are truly an asset is a challenge. So many a time the people who first lose their jobs or who first face the axe when the company runs into a challenge, when the team runs into a challenge, is the person with a retrograde planet in the 10th house. However, the retrograde planet, when it brings a downfall in the 10th house related to your career, also gives you a sudden rise. This is a great placement for a retrograde planet in the 10th house, where you had to go through a misfortune and then for you to then attract a fortune. So people had to give up or resign from one organization only to get a bigger, better role, a larger, meatier role in another organization, is the placement of a retrograde planet in the 10th house. Since the retrograde planet also gives you the results of the last house, so here you will find that your educational qualifications don't support you much in your career, and hence, in spite of being very highly qualified, you don't seem to be attracting the kind of jobs that you're really looking forward to, and hence so you need to work harder to be able to show, or you need to be more qualified than your colleagues sometimes to get those roles that you expect. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 10th house, you will have to be more highly qualified than sometimes your team members to get ahead and to get the roles that you desire. If you are able to handle the retrograde planet well, you are able to work on the relationship with your managers and supervisors, be willing to put in long hours and hard hours, and willing to be patient and persevere, then you will find that the retrograde planet in the 10th house will take you to the highest excellence of organization, and that is the results of a retrograde planet in the 10th house for you. A retrograde planet in the 11th house can give you initial challenges in your social networks, in your societal norms, in how you are generally seen in society. So how well you are able to connect with your friends, what kind of social affiliations you have, what kind of reputation and respect that you have, what kind of reputation in society that you have, what kind of standing that you have in society, and what is the social network, all could be under a spotlight with a retrograde planet in the 11th house. So here one needs to work hard on creating those social connections because of which you can gain in life. Because the 11th house is also an Upachaya house, and having a retrograde planet means that you will have to work that much more harder to get gains of the 11th house. Because the 11th house is also the house of your desires and your wishes. So fulfillment of your desires takes a lot of time. Whether the desire is to be with a good partner, whether the desire is to work in a large organization, whether the desire is to have a good social life, whether the desire is to have good friends, whatever your heartfelt desires are, you will find that with a retrograde planet in the 11th house, it takes that much more time for the desire to be fulfilled. So while it looks easy, you want to buy a car of your choice and you come close to it and suddenly something happens which you have to let go of the car. You come close to buying a property of your choice and suddenly something happens, you have to let go of that property. You come close to getting an offer from a company of your choice, a company of your aspirations, and the last moment you either don't get the job, you don't get the offer, in spite of being shortlisted, or even in spite of being given the green signal, or in spite of even getting the job, you find that you don't settle in easy, you don't settle in fast. And so that is definitely a challenge that the 11th house retrograde planet throws up with you. A retrograde planet in the 11th house also may give you a challenge with your elder siblings. So sometimes getting along well with elder siblings becomes a challenge. Sometimes the 11th house retrograde planet either does not give you an elder sibling, or instead of you being younger, you need to play the role of an elder sibling. So having more responsibilities of the house, having more responsibilities of the family, you need to put your step forward and to take the responsibilities on your shoulders and to play the elder brother or sister in the family, or be the more responsible brother or sister in the family, or play the role of the eldest child, or play the role of an elder statesman in the organization. So in challenging times, sometimes you are put forth or you are thrust in the face of the challenge, and then you need to be able to handle that challenge because of a retrograde planet in the 11th house. The misunderstanding that it may give you is that sometimes people may not see you as a very social person. So in spite of you wanting to be with friends and wanting to hang out with friends, because of your challenges of the 10th house, which the retrograde planet in the 11th house affects, so you are not able to find time with the social circle because you are too tied up with work, or there are challenges at work, or there are deadlines to be met. In spite of wanting to have a social life, you are not able to have the social life that you really want because of the retrograde planet in the 11th house. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 11th house, be patient for your desires to be fulfilled. Be patient in having good social connections, work on your social connections, be careful of what you say and who you say to, because you could be misunderstood and your social life could all collapse. Because the retrograde planet is one step forward and two steps backwards, so your social life could take time, your social network could take time building, and you could take years before you have a good enough social life or close friends with whom you can able to hang around regularly. However, if you stick to hard work, if you stick to having building good social connections, then the retrograde planet in the 11th house could fulfill your desires like nobody else's. And that is the result of the retrograde planet in the 11th house for you. A retrograde planet in the 12th house is a very, very karmic placement. One reason it is a karmic placement is because the 12th house is also a house of giving up and moving on. So the retrograde planet makes it difficult for you to give up and move on, which means losses come slow to you. But when they come to you, they may come in a plethora. So it's very important that you hold on to your expenses and not spend a lot of money in those things which you assume that you need, but you later on find that you don't really need them. Many times with retrograde planet in the 12th house, people tend to buy more things than they require. So their house may be full of items. Many times they rethink, did I really need to buy this, or they think of where to keep the item because they may need in the future, but they are not able to find any utility immediately. Sometimes the thing may be in the house for years before they find any utility, and it is just gathering dust or just taking up space. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 12th house, be a little careful where you are putting your money or how you are spending, because usually you will find that you are left with hardly any savings at all with a retrograde planet in the 12th house, because so much you are pushed into spending your money. If you are careful, then this can make you really somebody who's really miserly, and then you, on the flip side, you don't seem to be spending money at all, even in your most needed of expenses. So you need something really strongly, but your expenses go in something else also with this placement. So be a little careful with the retrograde planet in the 12th house, how you manage your finances, how you manage your spendings. This could also give you very good results in foreign lands, but with time, which means you have to really struggle to make it to foreign countries, or to work in MNCs, or to work with foreign consultants. So working in multinational companies which are foreign companies, you will find that either you take time to get into them, or you take time to get any good success within the company. So your growth seems to be slow, your growth seems to be stagnant, and it takes time before you either move to foreign lands or get success with foreign companies or with foreign clients. So if you have retrograde planet in the 12th house, be careful of what kind of work you are in, and if it's not a time-based work, then it is better for you. If you're working on a strict deadline-oriented work, then you will find that most of the time you seem to be missing your deadlines with the retrograde planet in the 12th house. Here you could also be misunderstood for having bad habits. So sometimes either you develop bad habits, or you get into some habits which you are not able to give up easily, which affects your reputation, which could affect your health, which could affect your demeanor, which could affect even your social connections, because the retrograde planet is also giving you results of the last house, which is the 11th house. Because the 11th house is also the house of aspirations and desires, loss of your aspirations and desires because of not being able to put a tab on your expenses could be one reason why you don't get the life that you want. This is also a spiritual placement if you're ready to give up of your expectations. So if you have a retrograde planet in the 12th house and you don't expect much from people, if you don't expect much from life, then this is a very spiritual placement where you will find a lot of deja vu. Things happening to you which you are not able to understand easily, spiritual things happening to you, sometimes even remembering last birth, or thinking that you have been here and you have done certain things before which you may not have done, having vivid dreams which also give you some hints of either your last life or hints of things to come, or hinting of areas that you need to solve, is also a retrograde planet in the 12th house. With a retrograde planet in the 12th house, be careful of how you take care of your health, because this may land you into hospitals or clinics suddenly without realizing that you're ignoring your health and thinking that things were under control, and suddenly the things flare up and you land in hospitals, you land in clinics. This will also give you a challenge suddenly with the law agencies, with police cases especially, and if you are in the armed forces, this could also put your life in danger from time to time with the retrograde planet in the 12th house. So be a little careful if you are in the armed forces, or if you are dealing with the police or constabulary, because this could give you some challenges with them, or health challenges, or with foreign clients. So with the retrograde planet in the 12th house, be less expecting, work hard on your social connections, work hard on having better relations with people, work hard on controlling your expenses and doing only those expenses which are really needed, and you will find that you will be able to easily overcome multiple challenges which the 12th house can throw up, and you will have an easier life, you will have a more spiritual life, you will have a more karmic life. And that is the placement of a retrograde planet in the 12th house for you. So friends, now that we have discussed the results of a retrograde planet in the 12 houses, please check which house the retrograde planet rules and then place in the respective house that we talked about. You may find that issues and challenges and obstacles may come from retrograde planets from time to time. There could be misunderstandings also, choices going wrong, decisions going wrong, and investments going wrong. However, retrograde planet is also a huge opportunity where sudden gains may come in, sudden moving up in your profits, moving up in relations, or even gaining a lot of name and fame can come with a retrograde planet in the respective house and about the respective areas of the house. So if you have a retrograde planet, handle the issues of the respective house very well and look at the leadership, the rulership of the house and what are the synergies, and be able to use the retrograde planet energies slowly, definitely, but surely in the long run. And that is the results of the retrograde planet in the 12 houses for you. So friends, like this video, share this video, and please press the bell icon so that you get to know when my new video is coming. If you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is your friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.